Good morning and welcome to Storyforge Live. I'm Barry Chandler and I'm joined by my co-founder at Storyforge, Hayley Boning. And we have spent the last 6 years helping businesses be more meaningful, relevant and even impactful to the lives of those people that they serve, both inside the business and outside the business, so that these businesses are preferred, they're loved, and they're chosen, irrespective of the economy or whatever competition they might be facing. So why we're here doing these live streams is because the world has obviously changed dramatically in the last few weeks and months, and therefore so must we as business owners and business leaders. We also know that expectations of customers and indeed employees have shifted dramatically, and so we need a different approach. We know that businesses today need to share and show and prove why they are relevant and why they matter and why anybody should care that they exist, so that they can continue to provide their services and have a meaningful impact on the lives of those that they serve. So in changing times, when the market changes, when the world changes, we too need to be introspective and look into our business and figure out how we must change as well. And we know from our work over the past 6 years that there is a process, an approach, a plan that can be followed to be able to pivot when needed, yet still be able to achieve our vision and have the impact that we want to have. So Hayley, maybe you can share a little bit with our audience about how these live streams are going to work every Wednesday and Friday.
Great. Yeah. So every Wednesday and Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, which I think is 8 a.m. Pacific on the West Coast where Barry is, we are going to be doing a few things. So we're going to share some of those insights that we've had over the last 6 years, the things that we have learned by working with our clients that we believe still to be true, and sometimes even more true during these times. We're going to take your questions. So at any time you can pose a question to us, you can suggest a topic, either in the live comments in this live stream that's here on Facebook and also on YouTube. You can also send us an email at any time to purpose@storyforge.co. So we'll take your questions from email, we'll take your questions from the comments section, and then we're going to share insights. And you can also at any point get on a call with us by sending us an email to purpose@storyforge.co, hitting up me or hitting up Barry, and we will get on a call, a private one-on-one call with you, just talk about your business and some of the challenges that you're facing if you don't want to do it live in our office hours. So we also, Barry and I spend all week talking with our clients, talking with current clients, former clients, partners out there in the world, and kind of trying to keep track on what's on the minds of business leaders, what the needs are and their challenges are. And we also, a couple of times a week, we're talking about how what we're seeing out there and how it relates to some of the businesses that we love and care very much about, and sharing some examples from their experiences. So one of the businesses we thought we would talk about today is one that's near and dear to my heart because it's in my neighborhood, and I've come to really enjoy this business, and it's called The Table. And for those of you in the Central Ohio area, you might have heard of The Table. It's a restaurant that serves its customers from the 5th Avenue in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I am based. And The Table's tagline, which I've always really enjoyed, is "Fork responsibly." And what that means for The Table is that they think very holistically about their business. They think about not just their customers and of course the employees that they have and the staff that they have that deliver for those customers, but they think about the farmers, the growers, the people who make the incredible food that they serve. So Barry's now showing us a picture of one of the two owners that sang as one of the two owners of The Table. And I spoke with her a couple of weeks ago when this whole thing was hitting, when our restaurants were shut down, as she and her business partner, Jen, were trying to reframe and rethink how they were going to be able to do what they do. And there were really a couple of decisions that they made fairly early. So the first one, which was obvious, and many of our restaurants and bars pivoted this way, is they asked, okay, how do we deliver what we deliver? And of course, typically it had been by welcoming people into their restaurant. And with the governor of the state of Ohio shutting that down, and allowing delivery and takeout only, they very quickly pivoted to that. They said, okay, we can still serve our customers by delivering food to them or by allowing them to pick up food. So they made that pivot within the first week. And then as things began to get more locked down and delivery wasn't necessary, they went back, both Sang and Jen and some other restaurateurs, but specifically Sang actually sat down and thought, okay, what is it that we do? Let's go back to the core foundation of our business. Why do we exist? First of all, why are we in this crazy industry, this crazy restaurant industry, right? If anyone had a logical mind, they probably wouldn't go into that as an industry. It's hard, the hours are long, the margins are really, really slim, but they're all in that business and they've been in that business for decades for a reason. So why is that? It's because they believe they are best at doing one thing, and that is feeding people. That's what they know how to do. That's what they love how to do, being of service to people and feeding people. And when they thought about all of their stakeholders that make up the table, all of the people who both impact that business and who are impacted by that business, there were two groups of stakeholders that they considered. The first was their customers, who they were serving through pickup and through delivery. But the second group of really important stakeholders for them was their staff, their employees, their servers, their chefs, their cooks, all of those people in the industry that make the table what it is, that enable the table to deliver on their purpose and to fulfill their mission of feeding people. And they realized that those people, those very people in the service industry who create the service industry and the hospitality industry in our community were suffering. So they came together with a couple of other industry veterans in our community to found an organization called Service. And servicerelief.org, if you're interested in checking them out, servicerelief.org. They're a relief effort for hospitality workers. They're organizing as a nonprofit community association comprised of all of these restaurant industry folks, but they're serving restaurant industry folks in Columbus, Ohio. So their focus is to identify and utilize resources to eliminate hunger among restaurant industry workers and families. So they were able to use, the table was able to use this filter of their purpose and their vision and what they do better than anyone else, and the beliefs that shore up their business and have always guided them since they were founded, to help them think differently about how they might fulfill that purpose.
So about beliefs. I love this approach that's founded on their own beliefs and their own purpose, which is all we know what to do is to feed people. That's why we're in business. It's our purpose, is to make sure people are fed, nourished, and the realization that the doors may be closed by law, by an order of the state, but we have other ways of helping. We have other ways of serving. We have other ways of being relevant and meaningful. And we've spent a lot of time talking with businesses about thinking long term and digging deep and relying on those beliefs and those things that have driven you from the start. And how do we use those to inform our behaviors today? And I think the table's a great example of falling back on the things that have always been true, which is that we're in the business of feeding people. We just need to find new ways to do it, acknowledging that until the doors open again, we can't do it how we've always done it. So we're going to find a different way. And they found a way that I think is going to build loyalty and hearts and kind of trust and heart space amongst those that they're serving, which is going to stand to them in the long term, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think we've seen that with, as I look across the community, the businesses that people are supporting, the number of campaigns that I've seen online of people saying, okay, I'm going to eat one meal out. If I can afford it, I'm going to eat one meal out a day so that I can support these small businesses, these restaurants in our community that have been there to support me. So customers recognizing that those businesses that have been there to support them, if you are able to, and we recognize not everyone is in that place, but if we're able to, we, especially during this time, we should be supporting them. You know, it reminded me, Barry, of something that you and I experienced a few years ago with one of our other favorite favorite food service organizations, which is a company called Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, which is all over the country. They're in California, they're in New York, they're in Atlanta, but they were founded here in Columbus, Ohio. And a number of years ago, they went through a crisis that could have derailed the business entirely, and it was listeria. Listeria sounded just as scary then as the coronavirus sounds now to us. So listeria is a foodborne illness that can hurt you and kill you. And at a time when they had to shut down all of their operations, shut down all of their scoop shops, that was a time when the competition didn't have to shut down. So there were other ice cream shops that were open. People could go to the grocery store and buy their ice cream, and Jenny's had to shut everything down. And I was walking one morning to our office, which to get from my house to our office, I used to pass by one of the Jenny's ice cream shops. And I noticed that there were all of these Post-it notes on the front door of the shop. And of course, we know the folks at Jenny's, so I thought, oh, they're probably UPS delivery notes. I should go take them off of the door, and then I can go deliver them to Jenny and Charlie and John and the crew at Jenny's so that they don't miss their packages. So I crossed the street, and as I got close to the door, I realized they weren't UPS delivery notices. They weren't FedEx notices. They were all different little Post-it notes, or little notes written on notepads that had been taped to the front door. And they were customers saying, Jenny, we love you. We can't wait for you to open again. I'm going to buy 4 pints when you open your doors again. And it was such a touching and visceral reminder that in these times, when things are challenging, when there is a crisis, if we have built up that reputational capital, if our customers and our communities and our vendors and our suppliers, if they know that we genuinely care about them and that we serve a really important need, they will be there for us when times are difficult. They will buy our takeout food. They will pick up food, even if they have to walk with a mask to come and get it. And they will be there when we need them because we've been there for them.
It's a great example of a business being human and people responding to a human, to the human stepping up. I mean, Jenny's, to your point, didn't have to shut down their stores. They did out of an abundance of caution. They went the extra mile to reassure their people or their customers. And I can imagine, and I know because we're customers of Jenny's, at that time when listeria struck, your first question is, now what? How are they going to react? How are they going to, what are they going to do next? And they did a very human thing. They said, yeah, look, this thing happened, so we're going to find a way to fix it. And we're going to go above and beyond to fix it.
Yeah.
And I think we're all looking for that in our personal lives, in our business relationships. We're just looking to spend time with people who we can trust and who do the right thing. Yeah. And it's no different for business. So we're looking now in these times of crisis for businesses who are going to do the right thing, for businesses who are not going to take advantage of us, for businesses who are going to reassure us, and for businesses who are going to connect with us and help us feel like we are recognized and that we matter as customers or employees. So we always talk about how it's easy to overcomplicate and overthink business when at its very most fundamental, basic foundation, it's people connecting with people. And all we as customers and employees are looking for is reassurance to know that it's okay. The business has got this. We're fine.
Yeah. And there's something interesting as well, because I think it speaks to customers, but it also speaks to employees. When I spoke with Sang as this whole thing was going down, she said, look, we serve people, we feed people. That's what we do. And not being able to go in every day and fire up the stoves and fire up the ovens and do what we do best, it was a huge loss for her team. And I'm hearing that across the entire restaurant industry, all of my friends in the hospitality industry, it's just what they know how to do. There was a wonderful meme that was going around of what does an airline flight attendant look like when they work from home? And there are a lot of these jokes out there. What does a server look like when they work from home? Do they just turn up the music really loud so they can't hear the order that their wife is putting in over the kitchen counter? We all have these needs as humans to serve and to be of value and to be meaningful. So when we as a business can cut through all of that clutter and really define what is it that we do that's meaningful, that we're uniquely positioned to do, that we do better than anybody else. And if we can all hang on to that meaning, not only does it help us articulate things more clearly for our customers, but it gives our own selves, our own staff, our own employees a sense of greater purpose. We're not just here to try to shore up the business and make the profitability and make the revenue. We're here for something bigger than profitability, something bigger than revenue.
We always have come back to this idea that we don't want marketing, we want meaning. We'll keep talking about this because we're bombarded on a daily basis with tone-deaf messages and tone-deaf marketing, and marketing that doesn't recognize the world that most potential clients find themselves in today, or tacks on a glib statement like, I know these are tough times, but hey, you should buy this thing over here. And it's going way over our heads, and it's just not connecting in any way, or worse, it's doing damage to their brand. And so how can we pause as business owners? And I know it's an easy thing for me to say, let's pause, when many businesses have to keep the lights on and their employees that need to be paid. However, can we think about, despite these challenges, what is the most meaningful thing? If we were to assume that by being meaningful, we actually end up creating profitability long-term, or we might even create profitability short-term or medium-term, but at the very least, we're always going to want to be meaningful. So why skip that part now in a rush to marketing and trying to connect in ways that just don't work?
Yeah, and I think there is this natural rush to tactics. There's this natural desire, because the thing that is threatened most right now for us is the typical way that we've done business, right? How we have delivered on our purpose, how we have served our customers. It's the how that is the most at risk right now. And so it's very, very normal, I think, for us to focus on that how, that thing that's at risk, that thing that has become a barrier that's preventing us from being in business, and just try to find different ways of executing the how.
Right.
Maybe we should move everything online. Maybe we should sell things through a website instead of in our shop. So, and yes, that it's important to think about those tactical things, but it's much more effective to think 2 or 3 levels up and remind ourselves, why are we in this business to begin with? What is it that we were trying to change in the world? What impact were we trying to have when we founded this business? What kind of impact on our customers? What kind of change were we trying to impact in the world? And using that as a filter for thinking before we think about the tactics, to help us rethink the strategies.
Right.
And from that thinking, from those insights, new strategies may grow, new creativity, innovation that can help us determine tactics.
There's also a newsworthy element to this meaning. So the table has gotten coverage over the past week or two because of their efforts with service relief, and rightfully so. They've got news coverage because it is a meaningful story, and it's connecting, and it's showing how a business is using the current environment to help people. We know of other examples that we'll dive into over the next few sessions as well. For example, Watershed Distillery pausing production of gin and vodka to make hand sanitizer. And Flo, who has historically made menstrual products, is now making face masks. And they're getting press, and they're getting coverage, and they're getting a lot of news, lot of news coverage, and justifiably so, because they're meaningful and it's a good news story. And isn't that worth more to the business in the long term than how they manage to sell more whiskey, or how they manage to sell more menstrual products in this time,
Absolutely. And this is something that we at Storyforge are very fortunate. We get to work with for-profit businesses, but we also have the opportunity to work with lots of nonprofit clients. So I was happy to see Christy Farnbach is in our comment section right now. Christy has been a client of ours, first at the Columbus chapter of the National Association of Women Business Owners, where she was formerly the executive director, and now she is on, I believe, day 3 as the executive director of CATCO, a theater organization here in Columbus, Ohio. So Christy says that this is really a place where some companies can learn from the nonprofit sector. that meaning is currency in the nonprofit sector. They deal in meaning, or they should, every day. And this is a great point, Christy. It's something that we know to be true. We know that in the nonprofit sector, for example, we know through Gallup studies and through other studies that the nonprofit sector, typically the engagement levels of employees in the nonprofit sector are far higher. People work long hours for less pay, for less benefits, in a very sometimes tenuous industry. And why do they do that? Because they believe in the purpose, they believe in the mission and the vision of the organization. They believe that they're doing something greater. So that meaning, that connection to meaning, starts inside the business, inside the organization, and then flows through. So how does Christy and her board at Capco, how do they go out and raise money for the organization? How do they convince people to write checks when the return on that check, or the return on that monetary investment, isn't a monetary return? They're not writing checks for $10,000 and expecting to get 15 back over time. They're writing checks for a different kind of return, an impact that they know that their checks can make. So helping your customers as a business understand what impact are you allowing your customers to be a part of? What impact can they have by buying your product, by participating in your service, the impact for them and the value proposition for them, but also the impact on the world, especially in a time when we are going to be, all of us as consumers, whether B2C consumers or B2B consumers, we're going to have to be very thrifty. We're going to be even more intentional than we ever have been about where we spend our money, about which partners and vendors we're using. And it's, if we can connect with people on that sense of meaning, on being meaningful rather than meaningless, then we're going to be able to cut through the clutter. And these words, meaningful and meaningless, I don't want us to brush over them too quickly, because when I think of meaningful, it is something that's full of meaning. It's a business or a proposition that's full of meaning, something that's valuable, something that's essential. This is if there was a word of the month, I think the word essential would be that word of the month, right? Essential businesses, something that we're talking about a lot. But within your business, what is it that's essential? What is the most essential part of what you do and who you serve and how you fulfill that purpose? So understanding what's valuable, what's essential, what's positive, what's affirming about your business. That's the meaning that we need to tease out. Because people are going to be immediately, and have already immediately, dismissed things that they're finding to be unnecessary, to be superfluous, and to be insignificant.
So we're planning to use these live streams every Wednesday and Friday to answer questions from business leaders and owners and founders about how they can discover the true meaning in their business. We're also absolutely going to take calls and have chats with business leaders who want to talk through this for their specific business, because we know there's a plan and a process and an approach that works for uncovering the meaning within an organization. I don't think there's a single business we've ever worked with that hasn't been meaningful in some way, whether they had recognized it at the outset or not. We discovered it through the process, and in doing so, helped them to connect in a deeper way with the customers, both inside their business and the customers outside their business, so that they could do more, so they could have a greater impact. So every business is different. Every business has its own unique set of challenges, its own unique set of imperatives and things that are due right now that they have to address. So for those business owners who are watching and want to figure out, well, how do I surface that meaning in my business, and how do I ensure that I'm connecting and not pushing customers away? We want to use these live streams to answer those questions, but anybody at any time can also send us an email at purpose@storyforge.co. I'm going to put that up here on the screen. And we'd be happy to jump on a call anytime. How we are trying to be meaningful in this time to those that we serve and those that we don't yet serve is to share our process and share what has worked with some of the most incredible organizations and businesses we've had the fortune of working with over the past 6 years, be they large multinational organizations with thousands of employees, or those that have 2 or 3 people working in them. The approach to uncovering meaning and matter how you matter and how you're relevant is the same irrespective of the size, geography, type of business, B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. So we'd love to hear from business leaders who would benefit from a call and how we can make a plan right there on the call with them and how they can address this. These are very different times, and I've never been more convinced of the need for a business to demonstrate, prove its meaning at every touch point. Yeah. This too shall pass. And when it does, those businesses that have managed to connect and survive because of that connection throughout this time will be those that succeed and that thrive when the challenges that we're facing today are no longer in place. So it's now is the time to be surfacing and honing in on that meaning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I can't understate enough, I think, how important this is for businesses to think about these things and to articulate this meaning when it comes to their employees. So, everyone working in your business, everybody on your staff right now, they are, before anything else, they are a human being, and they are going through a significant amount of trial through all of this, just as your business is. They're looking for meaning in ways that maybe they hadn't before. They need that meaning in ways that maybe they didn't before. You'll see in the upper left-hand corner of the screen a logo for Can't Stop Columbus, which is a nonprofit organization that was very quickly formed in the last few weeks to address some of the most critical needs and issues that were facing our community during this crisis. And they've brought together over, I think, 1,200 people who are volunteering their time right now to solve problems in the community. And I was speaking with two of the founders this morning, and one mentioned to me that one of the unintentional impacts or benefits that this organization has seen is not just the people in the community that they're serving, but those 1,200 people who have given up nights and weekends over the last few weeks to code, to create websites, to organize, to address these problems and these come up with really interesting and creative solutions. That those people, those employees, if you will, of this organization have experienced far less of the kind of stress and the anxiety that people who aren't actually helping or aren't finding ways to volunteer and reach out in their community are experiencing. So, this is not a scientific study, but certainly anecdotally, it's proving what we believe to be true at Storyforge, which is that meaning, that kind of meaning, and harnessing that kind of meaning, that natural inclination that we have as humans to help other people, to be useful and to be meaningful in what we do, that is creating more well-being for the people in this organization. And certainly if you as a business are able to articulate that meaning and harness your people in the delivery of that meaning, it can create more well-being for them as well.
So our goal is to use these live streams to showcase businesses that are doing incredible things to be meaningful and impactful and helping those that they serve. And we're going to do that every Wednesday and Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on these live streams. And we think that in these times where there's a lot of bad news coming at us from every different angle, we want to use these live streams to be hopeful and to be excited about the impact and opportunity that business has to change lives for the better. So we're going to showcase examples of businesses that we've worked with in the past that are doing great things now, that have that are showcasing meaning and demonstrating meaning in ways that get us inspired and get us excited, in the hopes that they too get you excited, and that you try and apply the same approach to your business so that you can have an even greater impact. So we'll be back here every Wednesday, every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can put your questions into the chat box anytime you join on Facebook or YouTube. And for those of you who are watching this on a replay, feel free to send us an email at any time at purpose@storyforge.co. Or you can schedule a call with us if you want to chat through this for your own business. We'd love to talk anytime with you about how we can, right there on the phone, make a plan for you that you can go and implement in your own business about how to connect in a deeper way to build loyalty and trust and meaning with your customers and employees. You can schedule a call at storyforge.co anytime as well. So Hayley, thanks as always for jumping on to the live stream. I'm enjoying these and I hope our audience is too. And we will be back here on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Look forward to your questions.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.